Welcome to Belly Up to the Blackboard, a podcast focused on the reality of teaching and other musings from and about professionals, hosted by Chris Munn and Justin Russell.
Welcome back to the podcast. Justin is on a travel day, so he will not be joining us, but I do have Craig Wederquist with me. Welcome back.
Well, thank you. It's good to be back.
Glad you're here. Glad you could make it. So last time we were in, the garage recording this?
Yes, and I was going to file a lawsuit of elderly abuse because I was freezing.
Yeah, we had to put a little buddy heater in there, and we moved it inside for the winter at least. But yeah, welcome back. We're gonna start it like every day. All right, so we are not really popping bottles or anything right now because it's Sunday morning. So we are drinking coffee. Well, I'm drinking coffee and a Propel, and weed is going straight bottled water. So yeah, nothing fancy here today. But it's early November, actually middle of November kind of now.
Yeah, 12 weeks into school year.
Yeah, so this is kind of where that honeymoon phase starts to wear off. And so today we're going to talk about morale and, how to boost morale. We'll talk about, what happens with staff morale in the building. And this is a good time right now because at this time is when people start to just, like I said, the honeymoon phase is over and they're counting down the days till Thanksgiving break.
Yeah, metal hits the meat.
Yep. And it's not just the honeymoon phase for staff and everything, but also for students. So you got the new students and you got the freshmen, and they start to get to the point where they feel comfortable and they're done feeling things out. So then I think you see some spikes of behavior possibly in the school.
Yeah, I agree. I think in 12 weeks you get to know your true classroom dynamics, as you say.
Yeah, and not just the honeymoon phase too, is that you've got the kids that, and I'm assuming this is in all schools too, is that you have the kids that they start seeing Thanksgiving break come in and they're getting ready to go home, and that's not the place that they want to be. It's not the safest place for them. School is that norm, that place where they feel safe, and there's adults around that they can trust.
Especially in our demographics that we have at our school.
Yeah. The lower socioeconomic, where, you're at school and you're guaranteed a meal. You've got heat. I mean, heck, I know a long time ago, there's one kid, and you worked with this kid too. This was in the beginning of our careers, that dirt floors.
Oh yeah.
And they slept in the living room around just one space heater.
Yeah. Barbarians.
Yeah.
I mean, he got electrocuted, stealing power from another house.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. So those are you see those behaviors spike with those kids because they're that normalcy of school and that safety of school is they know that they're going to have to, quote unquote, survive on their own for 4 days. So,
yeah.
So morale gets low, and, how do we boost that morale in a school? What are some things that, you have I was joking with somebody the other day is that, you don't get the raise, you don't get the time off, but hey, we're going to throw you a pizza party to boost staff morale.
Oh, yeah. We're in a unique situation too this year. We have a new administration and those dynamics play out, and there's really two camps from the initial get-go, and one of those camps is it's not going to be better, it's worse. And then you have another one that says, hey, this is great. I feel refreshed and energized, And then there's little components of initiatives within the school that kind of drive the morale either up or down, and it's been interesting this year to see ours.
Yeah, and I, you could say I would call it optimist and pessimist. I don't think you can call it anybody's like realist, because we're not quite into enough to like, you recognize, and maybe somebody does, I don't know. You recognize the same traits from, previous administration to the, but I think from the get-go, there were some people that it was so rough last year for them that either complete optimists, hey, there's a change, I think it's going to be great, give them a chance, let's see what happens. And then there's some that maybe had it so bad last year and were ready to go last year that they're like, it's going to be the same thing. That, usually in that summer you start to kind of recharge your batteries, and some of that optimism comes back. And, if you don't have a great summer, or you don't have something going on, you're still stuck in that rut from last year. And I know I was for quite a bit of the summer. And then after meeting, and, I thought it was going to be the same stuff. I was going to have a negative attitude, because I did at the end of last year. But after meeting the new administration, and I'm like, you know what? I like it so far. It could be the honeymoon phase, because I know I used that word a couple times, and let's just see how it goes. I mean, give them a blank slate to, it's like when you have kids and everybody starts with an A, and you're either going to keep that A or it's going to drop down with what you're doing. So I figured, you know what? Hey, give them the benefit of the doubt, and, make them not earn it. But, if things start to go sideways or whatever, then all of a sudden you can say, okay, now I get it. Now you got that negative attitude.
Yeah. So, you've got to have some optimism, because you got to also understand leadership is going to change, and what I mean by that is, they're going to do it their way. And that might, a lot of leadership isn't so much about doing it the right way or the wrong way. I mean, there's obvious things, but, sometimes they're just going to do things differently. They're going to interact differently. And when they do that, it's just a different, it's not wrong, it's not right, it's just their way. And when they do it that way, you got, like you said, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt, and you got to move forward with it. So I think I was the same way. I just, try to do my job. And as I have interactions with the new administration, it's like with teachers. Some teachers you get along great. They're going to help you out. I had a teacher on Friday just, hey, look at this. This is what we can do, da-da-da-da-da. And I went away from that as, boy, what a, and it's a young teacher. And they're just went over the top to help me out. It was great. It was great,
And I mean, it pays nothing to be optimistic.
Absolutely
right?
not. Yeah.
I mean, you're there, you've got your contract. So, I mean, why not try to, and maybe this is sunshine and rainbows, but why not, hope for the best and, give them the benefit of the doubt and see what happens. I mean, if it's going to be bad, you'll find that out. But, don't sink your own ship just because, you feel like it's going to be bad. It has to be bad because that's how it's been. and others had, good positive interactions last year too. But for me anyways, it looked like everywhere you looked, people just were run down. It was a rough end of the year. And
coming off COVID, we had some real, I didn't experience it myself, but there were just some people that had just had enough of everything. I mean, they had enough at home, they had enough at school, they had enough with society. We're kind of living in a time that just the general society's morale, we're struggling to get back to a more optimistic look. In politics, I mean, it's things are, I've always said the world is a pendulum, and it's always going to swing back. And I think it's starting to swing back now. So I think you're seeing a few more smiles, a few more optimistic people out there willing to, look at the glass as being half full rather than half empty. And then that just makes your day go better.
Yeah. And I, do you think it's the people that, we bring back COVID, when COVID hit, they were the most pessimistic about that. Whereas they were double masking outside while they're, and maybe that's just that mindset during that time just maybe scared people so much, or they thought everybody was going to die. It was going to be the winter of death. And then they're just that pessimistic attitude, I guess. It's hard to get out of that. And maybe that's some of that carryover.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's something about everybody, about society, the way they looked at some of the directions that we took as a country. We started closing down things, and we started masking, and we started requiring this, requiring that. And I think you see that uniquely as you get concerned as a citizen, because we have freedoms here. We have real freedoms in this country, more so than anywhere else in the world. We're not told what to do. I mean, from the standpoint of, you have a lot of latitude. You've got the First Amendment. You've got the Bill of Rights, and boy, that can really, really affect a person who feels like those are being infringed on. And it's real, it's genuine, but common sense, it's just like Dr. Fauci. They just went nuts over him. I mean, you either really liked him or you thought he was a demon, for heaven's sakes. And it was crazy why people were so obsessed in a positive way and in the negative way with him. I mean, it was just, it polarized this country. He'd say something and oh my gosh, the social media that would blow up for and against was incredible. How bad is it when you've got to have security because you're the head of
that? Yeah.
The CDC or whatever.
Health department.
Yeah, the health department. I mean, for heaven's sakes, let's get a grip, people.
So you're right. And I think that divide continued to increase. And I think we saw it in schools too. And with education being more of a, like a liberal or left-leaning career choice. Usually, I would say the majority, and I don't think I'm wrong here, the majority of educators are more left-leaning.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's, there were times I felt, not that like I felt threatened or anything like that, but like if you, and I'm more conservative and that, and not that I espouse those things in school at all, because, I feel that if, to be a great teacher, one of the things is that a kid should not know your political beliefs, right?
Right, absolutely.
And I think that's getting kind of put to the wayside now, but yeah, I think you can kind of see some of that where you feel there's that judgment on one side or the other, and with it being a majority of left leaning for educators, is that you almost like, I'm a conservative, but how am I going to get judged?
Yeah.
And not to get too far off and into the political thing, but and I think that goes with part of morale too at school, and how important is morale for teachers to have a successful school?
Well, I think it's everything, and I think it's one of the things that any administration has to take seriously. It has to be a conscious plan in their mind moving forward, how they're going to deal with their staff. And I think the first thing that you've got to be able to do is you've got to give people a voice. One of the things I dislike the most about education is that there's an attitude of, I confess it's your fault. It's not the accountability. If you have a problem, go to the administration, express your concern or your problem, and try to work with them to alleviate that. And one of the things I hate is when a teacher goes, "Well, I don't want to, have them use that against me." And I'm like, well, I understand that. I understand that.
But is that a thought process that has been built from previous experiences? Because I could see that, and I've done this myself too. It's like, you've got an issue, but it's like, you know what? it's not worth bringing to the administration because nothing's going to be done about it. And that's with like my biggest thing with that is with, specific kids' behavior in the hallways. You crack down on them, you write them up, you put it in referrals, but when you know the administration has seen that, or they've talked to the kid, and it just feels like nothing is being done. And part of that is a transparency too. And I know, and this was a big thing last year, was that teachers were like, what's being done about this? I had this kid, he should have, for whatever reason, whatever they did, I think he probably should have been suspended based on what it was.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see anything happening. You hear nothing from, feedback from the administration, and they don't tell you, we looked into it, we had to do it, and there's certain things they can't tell you. And I understand that, but to never follow up. And I think that was a big thing with a lot of teachers last year, was that there's no follow-up or transparency on what was happening.
Yeah.
So then that trust goes out the way. And then again, there's the morale of getting, trying to do the right thing. And it just feels like it's not rewarded, but it's never followed through. And then there's just like, what's the point of writing this kid up or taking a phone away?
Yeah. And I'll go on the other side of that just a little bit. A new administration comes in and they say, okay, one of the things that everyone had meetings with the administration said is the number of kids that are in the hallway. And what's being done about attendance? What's being done about tardies? What's being done about behavior? Well, one of the things that they said, hey, when you write a major office referral, we want you to contact the parent immediately. Well, one of the things that I'm seeing is people aren't writing up majors anymore because they don't want to confront the parent. Yeah. They don't want to call the parent. They don't want to email. You got to try to make the system work. I mean, what are you scared of?
Yeah.
I mean, those are difficult conversations. Behavior is a difficult conversation. And I get it. The regular classroom teacher doesn't want to have to, sit in their office or their classroom after school and make 5 calls because they considered something major. Well, if we're going to get this generation to understand that we're going to give them 21st century skills, they're going to get called on the carpet.
Yeah.
They're going to be held accountable, and being held accountable, that's the first step. I think it's our responsibility as a teacher. And I'll tell you what, I don't like those conversations.
They're
hard.
Yeah.
They are. They're hard. And I'm getting better at them. I've been in this business 17 years, and I'm not what you consider a rainbow and unicorn kind of guy. I hate crushing souls, and I hate not working with people. I mean, those are things that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
My daughter just brought us some pumpkin bread.
This is.
We'll try not to eat it on air.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where you've got to give them a chance. And one of the things, we started a couple of initiatives, and some people are saying, this is so much work.
Yeah.
Hey, let's try to make this thing work, and then let's evaluate it. Let's get, everything we do in a school, everything you do in an organization doesn't happen overnight. It's incremental. It takes time.
Yeah. And
it takes the full staff's cooperation. It can't be just 5 people. It can't be just 10 people. It's got to be all of them.
Well, and I think with anything new, there's a lot of front loading. Once you get that in place, it's a lot easier as you go. And so I think that's like, man, and it's just like setting expectations in your classroom. You have to do everything at the beginning of the year, and then it maybe not smooth sailing, but it's going to be a lot easier once you set those expectations.
Oh, no question.
And I don't know, and devil's advocate again is that with the people that came back, and we've got new teachers, and some are just like this, this really shouldn't be my job of calling home, but I could see some of the older teachers that have been with us for a while of, okay, I call home, a parent gets on my ass. Is the administration going to back me up?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I get the, is this just me getting
Am I on my own?
Yeah. Am I getting hit in the face for nothing?
Yeah. Open the doors of the castle, let me walk out and see what happens, and shut the doors behind me. Yeah. Yeah. That's
go get him, Ray.
Exactly. So, and I mean, most of the time, if you have a kid with behavior, parents have heard it before. probably.
Oh, absolutely.
So they're either going to
Yeah.
be tired of the school talking to him, or they're like, yeah, and I'm sorry. And you don't know until you call the parent.
You know, you made a really good point. The administration gets to know the recurring offenders of behavior, and they get it. I mean, I'm on the other side of those meetings. I'm at SAT. I'm at a student assistance,
Yeah.
team, and oh boy, here we go. This student, such and such. Yeah, he's back at it. Now it's it's Class B that he's demonstrating his behavior. It was Class A before. Now it's Class B. It's going to go on to C. What are we going to do? What are our interventions? And remember, one of the reasons for the office referrals is to have a record of what we're talking about, because you've got to admit, in the age of transparency, you've got to have a list of things that have been documented.
Yeah, I was just going to say that you have to go through the steps. As much as you want to be like, this kid did this, get him out, he should be out of the school right away. Just kick him out. You can't. You have to go.
You can't. You wouldn't want your kids getting kicked out like that.
No, unless it was completely agreed. Like it'd have to be obviously extreme, right? But you can't. It's the little things that have to build, and that's tough. Again, with that transparency, sometimes is you don't know what's going on. You have the kid in your class, something happens, you don't know why he's not in trouble, or it seems like he's not in trouble,
or there's no consequence.
There's no consequence, or it doesn't look like there's one. I talked to him. Well, he told me to fuck off. So I mean, maybe not talking to him. Maybe there should be something, and you don't get the follow up a lot of times. You didn't, know, and I think it's better, but when you that morale piece of it, that's what takes the toll. And
right.
It could even be that first one, especially for teachers that have been here before, is like you have that first interaction with administration and it feels like it's the same old, then that morale automatically takes a big dip.
One of the things, our principal has done, when he sends out an email, which is always good communication, starts it off with a very positive note, which I appreciate. I really do. I mean, it's easy. It doesn't take anything. It's not disingenuous. It's sincere. He has a deal where you can schedule a meeting with him right on every email.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to set up a schedule? And he's there.
Yeah.
I have heard no one who has scheduled a meeting with our principal who hasn't gotten the meeting. And if he's going to miss the meeting, he's willing to reach out and say, hey, I can't meet. Something came up. I can't do it.
Well, and I feel like he's very open to your opinion. Now, that's been another thing in the past before is like, and this is why a lot of times I don't like to be on hiring committees, because it feels like you give your opinion, you like, and as a group sometimes, and all of a sudden
they hire
somebody like, what the hell?
Yeah.
That is not the person we thought. So then again, it feels like I'm asking your opinion. I'm not going to use it, but I'm just going to, appease you right now. And it feels like right now it's different. It feels like he's asking your opinion before making decisions, asking your opinion as the quote unquote, professional in the classroom of what your thoughts are.
Yeah. There's been a couple of times where you offer a suggestion and you say, hey, this is a plan, and they take it.
Yeah.
And you think, yeah, great, super. Okay. I get it done, do it. Everything's going fine. Next time they don't take it. Well, am I going to sit around here and be butthurt because they didn't take what I suggested?
Yeah.
Does it make you ruffle your shoulders? Fortunately for me, I'm not going to get ruffled over that. If that's how you want to do it, fine. And I think it's taken 12 weeks for the administration just dealing with me to understand that I'm not really being disingenuous when I say, hey, whatever you want to do, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
They walk in, they apologize. Oh, I got to put this kid in your room today because we got too many in the office. Fine. No worries. I'm not sweating it. Well, I'm sorry. And you don't have to apologize to me. That's my job. I'm good to go.
And like you said,
and I think they know I'm real with it.
And it's not like like you were saying that, they may take your idea and run with it the first time, and then the second time they don't. And that's one where not every idea we have is great. I've had a lot of dumb ideas, right?
We all have had dumb ideas.
That's a different, and that's a different thing. It's like I said, for that hiring piece of it and whatever may be behind it or whatever it may, and you've probably heard multiple teachers like, did you want this? And not that we've had terrible hires, but it's like, that's not who we voted, who we thought was the best. And then you start asking around and like I said, there may be other things behind it and maybe something we don't see. But when it happens multiple times, it just is almost like,
that can be a real momentum killer.
Yeah.
And who's going to have, I'm certainly not going to fall on the spike for who the administration hires to do a job. I'll be honest with you. If they would ask me, I'd tell them. I'm going to rate the guys 1 through 3, 1 through 4, 1 through 5, whatever it may be. And if they hire 5 and I think 1 is the better job, hey, I trust you. You're the one in the big chair. You made the hire.
It's their responsibility.
You're not going to come back on me and say, hey, listen, why did you put? Hey, I had him at 5. You hired him.
Yeah.
I told you my opinion. I'm done with it.
Yeah.
And I'll work with anybody.
That's all I can do. And like you said, they're the ones that are responsible for it. And I get that. I completely understand that. It's again that what it seems like, right, on the surface of it. And that can take a hit to morale and for teachers. It's like, you ask us to do these things, we give you these opinions. It doesn't, time and time again, our opinion feels like it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
And that can take a huge hit to building morale. And I know we talk about kids first school. Kids are the most important thing in the schools, and I agree with that. The problem is that if you have teachers that feel like they're not worth much, the morale is really low. It affects the students.
Yeah. It's like any organization. One of the things I appreciate, even if it's just off the cuff, hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you doing that for us. Hey, thanks for willing to help. Just those little things. And it takes a while. It takes a while. And everybody's got to command or manage in their personality. You can't be Lou Holtz as a football coach. Lou Holtz is Lou Holtz. He's got to coach like Lou Holtz. You got to coach like Chris Munn.
Yeah.
And that's one of the greatest things that people look at. You're not Abraham Lincoln. I'm not Thomas Jefferson. You got to understand yourself, and you've got to do the best you can. And like you say, you got to give people a chance. If you want to be cynical, be cynical. I think it's counterproductive, but also recognize, and I think we've made this comment, or kind of define this a little bit. Everything that we do in a school is incremental. It doesn't happen overnight. It's like the hallways at our school. They're better now than they were at the end of last year. And there's a lot of reasons for that, not just because a new administration came in. There's more emphasis to it. More people are sweeping the hallways, doing a better job, extending themselves, making sure that they sweep the hallways. Yeah. I kind of enjoy sweeping the hallways because you start to see the repeat offenders. It's like the passes.
Yeah.
Now we know kids are at least, even if they're making their own pass, they've got a pass in the hallway.
At least putting in the work.
Yeah. If they're going to get around the system. And now we're going to go to the next phase. We're going to have a standard pass. It's going to have a standard color. It's going to, it's going to have to go back to the teacher. And, everything, like you said, it's going to get better and better, and it's going to take time.
But you got to put the work in, and that's
and
that's
we all have to do it.
Yeah.
We all have to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So, excuse me. So it is that thing. Like, it's the front loading. It has to get done now, for a smoother rest of the year, and that's at this point right now. It's tough because it's getting close to Thanksgiving. It's been a long time without a break, and then it's going to start picking up with, you go to Thanksgiving, then you go to Christmas. But I think right now, if you're kind of feeling that morale, you need to get with other teachers and Whether, after school, go grab something to drink, go grab a bite to eat. We just had the musical last week, Thursday and Friday. Get some, that like to go to see that stuff, go and do that. See the kids. Because sometimes, and you might see this in your room, and sometimes I see this in my room, not so much anymore that I'm not in a BD room, is you're working with those same kids every day that have those behaviors, and you don't really appreciate the really good kids in your school.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So going to those, sporting events.
95% of the kids in the building are doing what we asked to do. And every once in a while, maybe they're not right on the line. They're just a little bit over it. But, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's
Friday.
Friday afternoon. Yeah. Are you gonna burn that relationship? Are you just gonna, I always like to say, put a turd in your pocket over that one little deal? Yeah, and it's hard. And I think you make a good point about morale. Morale is about relationships, and
100%.
And you've got to find those relationships that support you. I think at our school we work with so many great people. I mean, really unselfish, hardworking, great teachers. I mean, I sit there and cluster, and I'm just amazed at the ideas that come up for trying to figure out, hey, will this engage a kid? Will we do this? Will we do that? And I have a little bit of amazement from the standpoint, I don't know if I could go through and defend the things that I'm doing because I think they're so good.
Yeah.
To somebody, and say, well, you could do this. You could, why are you explaining yourself so much about teaching?
Yeah.
I mean, I work with some people that present a project or a lecture or a section of their curriculum. And the first thing they do is they go, what worked well? What worked well? What didn't work well? Well, this worked well last year, but it didn't work well. Why didn't it work well? And they don't just throw it out. They just, they come to a conclusion. Hey, it's the kid, it was just happened to be, this
the group of kids that you're with. Yeah.
It just didn't get rolled out as well. I didn't put the movie in it this time. I didn't model it as well as I did the year before. And I can see now, hey, you know what? You got to model that a little better for them. And if I do that, it's going to be okay. And I just think they do a tremendous job. And all the little things, one of the things I like to do, and I'm fortunate in my position, is if I can help somebody else out, get a kid into another class, just so the dynamic is better. Because I know firsthand what that's like.
Yeah.
I mean, in my advisory during MAP testing, I had 4 guys that were just, they were toxic.
Yeah.
And think if I had them for 12 weeks every day, 45 minutes in a semi-unstructured
90 minutes with block.
Well, that's even worse is what I'm trying to say though.
Yeah.
But we're just talking about advisory. I'm sitting here going, there's no way. I'm gonna lose my IPers because I'm gonna pull the trigger on them.
And as much as we talk about administration, how sometimes we get frustrated with administration and that affects morale. I mean, like you said, it's that chemistry or the group of kids you have in that classroom that can really, really cause that low. You struggle for a day, and if something doesn't go quite right, or like it went great for my first hour class, but now I've got these certain kids in here. They're not going to allow it to go well because they could care less either way what happens. They're just here for the free Wi-Fi and the hot food.
Yeah.
Right. And it is draining. And you're there, like I said, because we do block scheduling, you're there 90 minutes every day with that same group. And some kids, and this is like we said, 95% are good, but some of those kids, they see a teacher struggle and they just feed on it, blood in the water. And that's how they get there,
And there's a pack mentality sometimes.
Oh yeah.
One kid can pull 3 others in on him, and it can make it a hard day for people.
Yep. And some of those kids by themselves are, they're fine, but they either want to, that peer pressure, or they want to be part of the cool group, or, if I don't bully somebody else, I'm going to get bullied type of deal. And it's, yeah, and that can get bad. And there's been a couple times with this year with a couple teachers that it's been real tough.
Oh,
man. And that, like you said, is changing those classes, getting those kids out of there. But if you don't do that, if you don't ask for the help.
I have 3 examples in the first 12 weeks where we took students, either moved them to a different time slot or said, we're going to do this again next semester.
Yeah, try again.
Yeah, we're going to try again.
Yeah.
Every one of those teachers have said, oh, my God, thank God. Oh, my God, thank God.
Yeah.
It is so much better.
But you have to ask for the help, though.
Yeah, you got to ask for the. You got to ask for the help. You got to swallow your pride and say, I can't change this dynamic with this person in the room.
Yeah, and every episode we want to give advice to young teachers, and I think that's one of the things is if you're struggling in the classroom, and it's because of a dynamic of students, you need to either reach out to like a mentor teacher, your administration, whoever you feel comfortable with.
How many times in the last 2 years have you heard from either the district office, the administration, through emails of, just all of it about worrying about your own mental health as a teacher? It's like a weekly thing. We get this email, hey, we've got counseling for you. I'm like, holy cow. And
you wonder how many people take up.
And good for them.
Yeah,
good
absolutely.
Good for them. Everyone goes, oh, there's such a stigma to mental health. I don't know that I ever thought there was a stigma to mental health, but I think the stigma is that it's failure. You feel like a failure when you can't control, when you can't do the basic thing a teacher needs to do, and that is have some structure and classroom management in their classroom. And it's a failure, and failure's hard. You learn from failure. I get all that. When we teach, hey, failure's a good thing, in education. But when you're administrating something and you have failure, it's not, it's a bitter pill to swallow.
100%. Because especially if you're in front of a class of 30 kids and something goes wrong, you don't like failing anyways, but a lot of them don't forget it, and then all of a sudden, this person who's supposed to be the content expert made a mistake. How much do they really know, or how much do I trust? And that's on top of I had what you put on yourself. You're like, man, that was a crappy lesson.
Oh yeah.
It's tough. So yeah, if they're for new teachers out there, you definitely need to make sure that with that morale piece, if you're in a class and your class sucked this time, maybe it was a lesson, maybe it was a kid's. If it's the lesson, talk to somebody, say, hey, what can I do better? That's what mentors are there for. And even if you don't have a mentor, your mentor is not the one you talk to the most. Ask a teacher that's down the hall that you hang out with, you talk with every day. Or if you have an issue with a student, and you're like, this class cannot run with this kid. Can we put them in a different section? Yeah. You need to make sure you stress that to, if you're new and you feel uncomfortable asking the administration because you don't want it to look bad.
I don't know that the administration has ever denied somebody that. If it can be done, I don't know if I don't know in our previous or the current one that would say no.
No, and I don't think so, but I think I think some teachers could be like, if I come to them and say, hey, this isn't working with this kid, they might feel on themselves that the administration is going to see me as not a good teacher because I can't handle
Absolutely.
a student.
Yeah, I could see
so
that.
it's more of like self-inflicted or that negative thinking, that self-talk. But yeah, it's not the administration 100% because they won't, if they can, they will for the most part. Right.
Absolutely.
I've had an issue before where they didn't, but we won't get into that. But yeah, it's, even if you're like, I don't want to talk to the administration, talk to somebody in your content area, somebody you just talk to in the class, say, hey, what should I do? This kid is, blowing up my room every day. And it's just, we're not getting through what we need to. Kids are starting to pull into it. Kids are starting to not pay attention because the class is a zoo. But you have to let people know.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't, you're just going to start spiraling down. And then that morale we've been talking about all episode, it's going to get bad. you're going to have that negative self-talk and you're just going to feel like, I can't teach. And that's not the case. It could just be one or two things that need fixed.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. One of the things like another little thing that helps morale, and I've done this and you've done this. You have a kid in your room and you're going to be evaluated. You're going to be observed. Well, this kid is an issue every day and you deal with him every single day. And you've got to really, you're geared up for an observation. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody just walks in and says, it's going to be my every single day. This is how I am every single day. You are, but
little dog and pony show.
A little bit.
Bit.
You're on your A game, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you made sure you got to bed early. You made sure you had your breakfast. You're ready to go. Everything is lined out. You've got your I's dotted and your T's crossed, and you're ready to go.
Yeah.
And you're kind of pumped up for it. And you got that one kid, and you go, hey, I've done this. Chris, can you take this kid third hour and being observed?
Yeah.
And you go, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
That's important. Because what's more important is that the hard work that you put into that lesson is now demonstrated. You feel more confident. And the kids get more out of it. The administration sees how hard you're working. And it's a real picture of a classroom when you have engaged students. Because no classroom is a good classroom if the students aren't engaged. And that's one thing that I think all these so-called experts fail. It's easy to say, well, if you do this, this, and this, you're going to get this.
Yeah.
That's not true.
You mean those people making $20,000 to speak?
Yeah. Those professional developments where I hear, hey, listen, da-da-da-da. And then you look at their criteria, and they're at a private school. Well, hey, our kids aren't paying $50,000 a year to come to school.
Or they've taught for like 2 years.
Yeah, and they decided to write a book.
Yeah.
And get out of teaching.
And now they're no longer in the classroom.
Yeah.
And that's something we're going to talk about next time is people that are in the classroom very short amount of times, and all of a sudden they're like taking their, they want to be a principal, they want to be admin, but they don't have that classroom. And we'll next episode we're going to talk about that of why are you in education? Because you're only in here for 2 years, and all of a sudden you're going to become a principal and then a superintendent.
Yeah.
But that's exactly right.
I got a great quick story for that.
Go for it.
I got it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm in my 4th year, and my principal at the time is, he had been a coach, he had been an administrator for, he taught in the classroom for probably 15 years before he went into administration. And when he went in there, he did the athletic director's job first, and then he went into a principalship. A situation occurs. He's like, hey, it's happened to me 10 times, 20 times. It's happened to me before. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Here's some things I found to maybe head this thing off. And that was it. That was it.
Makes it a lot easier.
Oh, my God. You talk about morale. I felt like, oh, God.
I'm not the only one.
I'm not the only one. I didn't do something that was so crazy that I lit the candle on this thing.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it just made, you talk about morale. I always had that guy's back. Always had that guy.
Yeah.
And I've felt like I've always tried to have every administration's back. Even when I don't agree with their decision on a kid. If you like a kid and the administration said, no, we're going to go this route.
Yeah.
You got to defend them. You got to say, hey, bud, you sowed your own, you blew a hole in your own boat.
Yeah.
And here's the consequences.
I like you, but you made a stupid decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He was a great principal to work for. Yeah. He always felt like you could have that conversation with him and,
he wasn't going to keep it over your head. He wasn't going to,
Yeah, he's not putting it in his back pocket.
Yeah.
Saving it you could be completely honest, and he got it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll talk about that next episode. So usually at the end of the episode, we let Justin talk about where he's at. Obviously, he's driving right now. They're down in Texas.
By far, he does not, you put him on this podcast, he needs to be taken off.
Hey, he'll be back next summer-ish. And
he is not communicating very well. When he hears this podcast, and I want him to know that I've thrown him in front of his bus, and I'm making sure that all the tires hit him.
At 45 minutes and 22 seconds, Justin, you can listen to that. Yeah, no, it's definitely different with him being not here, but it's a good way to start. It's fun, It's a good start to the Sunday morning, right? Go and watch football after this and hang out. But
I'm going to be cleaning up my back. We got a snowstorm coming. I've got to get everything off my patio. I might be calling you later to help me. So
yeah, I need to clean up the garage so Morgan can park her car in there.
Yeah.
Anything else though?
I just got one. I just got one last thing that I'd like to add to this, and it's just my 2 cents. If you're an administrator, if you're a teacher, I think the thing you've got to try is you've got to try to be positive. You got to realize that everything that you do in a building is incremental, whether you're teaching, whether you're, instituting new initiatives. It takes time. It takes time for people to change. It's hard work, but it's good work. And working through these initiatives, if you're patient on both ends and both people are genuinely trying to get it done, let's have credit. Let's give credit where credit is due. Hey, yeah. I know you're trying. I need a little more. Hey, you're going above and beyond. That's just something that people don't do much anymore. I try to say that when people have, like the young teacher that came in and really helped me with another student, came in and said, hey, I got this and this and this, and these are the things, if he does these, this will elevate his grade, get him in a foundation where he can get a really good grade. He went above and beyond, and I said so. I said, hey, man, this is awesome. This is great. I can get this thing done. And I hope that supports him down the road to be that optimistic, can get it done, understand that it's not going to be done overnight. And, I just think for him and I think we have a better relationship. I know where he's coming from.
Yeah. And I think I like what you said there. And for any administration, I don't know if any admin listen, probably not ours, I'm guessing, but just out there is a simple, like you said, just if you pop in and say, hey, appreciate you did this, or hey, is there anything you need from me?
Yeah.
Because, that goes so much farther than donuts and pizza. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody loves a free donut and a free slice of pizza, but just letting your teachers know that, hey, I'm here. What can I do for you?
I'd like to add one little thing to that. When it's Teacher Appreciation Week and you drive the cart around and you're giving coffee to everybody and you're interacting with everyone and you're all smiles, how much better is that Teacher Appreciation Week if all, throughout the whole school year, you've had these little, hey, I think you're doing a heck of a job.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks. And maybe it sounds like brown nosing, but I think it's important for teachers to say, hey, I appreciate you helping me today.
Yeah.
It
goes both ways.
It does. And it's, hey, they give you that, well, that's my job. It's not really it is your job, but it's not, you didn't have to you did enough for me at this point in time. Take the damn compliment and recognize I appreciate you. And I want you to do good anytime. That is a great way to answer someone. Say, hey, thank you for doing this anytime. No problem.
Yeah.
No worries.
It means more when they're not just stopping by your room for observations and coffee cart, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. It's interaction. Why did we get into teaching? It's not to have, our own.
It's not for the money.
Well, it's not for, to work by yourself.
Yeah. And that's a great thing to end on is, young teachers, make sure you are reaching out to anybody, a fellow teacher in your curriculum, whatever it may be. If you need help with something, or you need help with a student, or you need just a break, hey, can you take them for 5 minutes? It's a rough period because that morale, excuse me, that morale is huge, especially at this time. Winter's getting here. It's dark when you get to work. It's dark when you leave. You need to have that community there. So, but we'll go ahead and sign off, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks a lot.